Welcome everyone to our second quarterly town hall. Um, we are doing this on a quarterly basis to increase the communication amongst our members and give people understanding about what's going on between the leadership activities in the organization and connecting with the collegiate and alumni chapters as well as association officials. Um, I'm Tom Pinkham. I'm serving as president this year, and you'll be hearing from Colleen Hill-Stremsock, the vice president, and Kurt Gromolinsky, our executive director, in terms of presenting a couple items today. And then we really want to hear. We're also going to have some guest presenters that we'll introduce, and then we'll have time for questions and answers at the end. So a couple of things just on housekeeping logistics. We've got the AI summary on here. So that's in place to keep track of what's going on. If you could put your first name, last name, and TVP role and your rename, your Zoom name. Please mute. Well, unless you want to speak. There's the raise hand reaction, which is helpful to us to know that there's people that are interested in speaking. And if you want to put something in chat, we'll try to have somebody look at that and call our attention to that. And this is a session to let us share some things that are going on and then get your feedback. We're not trying to dive deep into debate on any given topic, but feedback is certainly welcome. So just keep that in mind, and we do want to hear from as many people as want to speak. So let's go to the next slide. This is, as I was mentioned before, we want to improve the communication between the executive council and the headquarters team and our members, given this opportunity to kind of share what's going on and give you the opportunity to kind of share things that are on your mind or react to anything that we do share in this meeting. And so, as I mentioned, this is kind of our second that we did one in December, the beginning of December, and so here we are again as we discussed. So with that, here's the agenda. We're going to have an update about the Communications 2025 Task Force that was created. There's an interim update. They're nearing the completion of their work, and we will hear from Cynthia Walker, who's co-chair of that committee, that task force, on the work that they've done. We have news about a new executive counselor, and we're going to introduce her. We're going to have updates on our membership goal and our other goal regarding membership experience, and a little bit about convention, and then time for you. So I guess we will get going. So first topic is the Communications Task Force. Next slide, please. So this was a group that was chartered in December to address issues that they surfaced in 2025 at convention. There was clearly some difficulty that members had in kind of working in the context of convention, and we wanted to understand that better. And so we chartered a multi-generational team from all the different groups of membership, advisors, students, national officers, alumni members, and executive counselors, and put them in a team and ask them to kind of define problem statements, rank them, and then propose solutions that we might consider as changes to our organization, both at convention, but also generally inside the organization to kind of improve the relations between members and understanding between members of the organization. And I want to give a real thank you to this team because they jumped in wholeheartedly and took on this task and have been working diligently since December. They really got going in January when everybody was back from for breaks and things like that. But they're listed here, and I really want to thank them for the work that they've done with this. And with that, I want to turn it over to Sandia to kind of share some key outcomes and some thoughts on what they've generated in their work. So, Sandia, take it away.
Thanks, Tom. So, hi everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Sandhya. I'm a District 2 director, and I served as co-chair for the Communications Task Force. As Tom mentioned, we had a really great group from diverse backgrounds, from collegiate student chapter officers to alumni chapter officers to district directors, ex-executive council, a nice mix of individuals who would really be able to provide feedback and brainstorm together to determine what were the key problem areas identified. How could communications be improved? How could different approaches be taken in order to solve these problems? And we didn't just use our own brainstorming and ideas for data, but also I want to add we did conduct a survey of committee chairs who were at the 2025 convention and looked through this data in order to make more informed decisions about how the attendees and specifically the committee chairs who worked across business meetings, presenting, leading their committee, and worked with advisors in order to get a more informed picture. So, based on all of this information and our many meetings over the course of the past few months, I wanted to summarize here some of the main improvements we felt needed to be made that would address some of the problems we identified and provide the Executive Council and the association with some next steps to look forward to. So, captured here are the key themes that came across the different areas of improvement. First being a refined convention structure. I know that a lot of different challenges or improvements for convention were brought up, and we really felt it was a combination of communicating better expectations of what convention is, but also changing convention to meet the expectations of the students and meet the needs of the students attendees. So making sure that business meetings and committee meetings are streamlined and modified structure in order to meet those needs. Additionally, a clarity of communications for better alignment of those mismatch expectations. What we saw in our discussions were that it was not clear what students would be actually doing once they came to a convention. So making sure that communications ahead of time really equipped them to be empowered for their convention experience and have a better experience overall. Next, not just on convention, but kind of taking a step back, we felt that an improvement that would benefit the association as a whole would be a direct articulation of value for greater member achievement. So, with regards to convention, this would be what is the value that we want students and delegates to get upon attendance at convention, but also what is the value that potential members would be able to see in joining Tau Beta Pi and how can we better articulate that value, that proposition value that Tau Beta Pi has to offer? Is it the network? Is it the scholarships? Is it the different opportunities to join different engineers and technical projects? Is the opportunity to attend convention? How can we articulate this more clearly and help students identify what that value is that they're gaining upon attending convention or being engaged as a member? The next piece was looking at mentorship. So we have a large group of volunteers who pull convention together every year, and a lot of them are also in mentorship roles during convention, whether it's as committee advisors or volunteers during the business meetings. And we really want to provide enhanced mentorship training to all of these individuals who are volunteering to better empower student leaders. Tau Beta Pi is a student-run organization, and all that we strive to do as volunteers is help them to have the greatest experience at convention and in developing their own leadership skills. So how can we ensure that our mentors are also well equipped with an enhanced training to meet the needs of the students? The next stage, an area we saw was having stronger year-to-year continuity between conventions. Majority of delegates, especially student delegates attending convention, it's their first time. But you have volunteers, officials, and certain individuals maybe who have the opportunity to attend multiple times. How can we ensure that that shared historical context from each convention is passed on so that fresh students, fresh delegates coming in, especially with regards to committee work, can make more informed decisions with that complete contextual knowledge of what took place at previous conventions? So this is an area we felt could be improved. And finally, resource gaps addressed in a timely manner. That's kind of a broad statement, but applies to a lot of different areas. One, for example, was just providing more resources for students to take advantage of prior to convention. So whether that's increased trainings on Robert's rules, whether that's providing committee business materials sooner so that students and delegates have an opportunity to review those materials and be better prepared coming into the in-person convention, or even just resources such as Wi-Fi, availability of outlets, water at convention, making sure that the Convention Program Planning Committee and the Convention Improvement Committee are able to address those resource gaps in order to make drastic improvements for the next convention that really ensure a great experience for everyone who attends. So these different points for us felt that it captured the different problem statements we identified and what are the best ways to go about making improvements. The rest of the few meetings we have left for our task force, we plan to continue recapping all of the improvements, recommending to the executive council which groups might be best to take on those next steps, and ensuring that we capture any feedback from you all today as we wrap up our next few meetings. So that's what I have as a bit of a summary on what our task force has been up to. Turn it back to Tom.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the team for the good work. Um, I Are there any clarifying questions I, I, that anybody has? All right, that was a pretty good job of covering it. As mentioned, all this is input to Executive Council, and it is uh, some things have already been shared and thought of by other convention planning committees. You'll hear from a little bit about that planning that has just started. So this work feeds right into the work as we plan convention for 2026 to try and um, uh, get get these improvements into action. Some will be easier to implement. Some can be implemented right away. Others might take more time to be determined when all these can be implemented. I saw a question here, an update on what recommendations are given to the EC in the future. I mean, this is a summary of the update. Um, I mean, it's going to look a lot like this. We've already seen a preview of it as they've developed it. So it has been shared with us. We're waiting for them to complete their work and put it in a finished form, but we saw an interim review a week ago. So we are we're pretty well informed about what's going on. So hopefully that's helpful to answer that question. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next topic. Thanks, Julia, for the question. Um, Colleen will talk about our vacancy on the Executive Council and how we have responded to that. So go ahead, Colleen.
Thanks, Tom. Next slide, please. I'm Colleen Hilstramczak. I'm the current Vice President. In December, at the end of December, J.P. Blackford resigned from the EC. He was elected last year at convention, and he was forced to resign due to work commitments that he wasn't able to do both. And so the Executive Council, based on the Constitution, is empowered to appoint a replacement. So we solicited nominations. They were sent out through multiple communication methods to and 11 nominations were submitted. The president, vice president, myself, and past president reviewed the candidates and recommended one to the full EC to be appointed to serve out J.P. Blackford's term. And if Kurt will go to the next slide, I will reveal who that was. So Dr. Jenna Carpenter was selected to serve the term ending December of 2028. She's the founding dean of the engineering at Campbell University. One of our one of um, our one of our chapters to be installed this spring. And she served in many leadership roles, and she's a leader in engineering education and is well connected to her students. And I'll let Jenna say a few words. She can talk better than I can.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I am so excited and so honored to serve in this role. And I've been very engaged in professional organizations, and I'm a very big believer that they're an important part of our students' professional journey and development. So really been a big fan, excited to have our Tau Beta Pi inaugural induction next month at Campbell, and excited to participate at this level as well. Thanks a lot.
Welcome, Jenna.
And back to
All
Tom.
right. All right, great. Thanks. Jen and I had a really nice conversation this morning, just getting her kind of bootstrapped and understanding what all's going on in our organization. And I'm really encouraged by the depth of our discussion and the connect and the resources and insight that she can bring to the role and to this organization as we seek to kind of expand our membership and relevance to engineering excellence. So, okay, we're going to move on to give you an update on our strategic goal. As you know, let's go to the next slide. We announced at convention in October, a focused goal. Right here is what we presented at that time. The first part was to increase our new member count from 8,250 to 9,000 in this calendar year or academic year, sorry. And also to focus on determining an index or a metric for measuring member experience or engagement this year, so that we have a baseline to start to measure and improve on our members' experience as we go over that same on that same time. So at the same time frame, we're trying to grow membership. We want them to have a better experience as we do it. So by way of an update, and some of you who might have been to your district conference so far, this slide will look familiar, but through January, we have initiated 4,644, which is a great progress towards that goal of 9,000. You know, it's going to take continued effort as we work through this initiation season in the spring. And we hope that some of the ideas that we've been able to share at district conferences and we've kind of highlighted some resources, some videos that maybe give some tips and tricks and insight into how to improve your membership recruiting is all going to be effective in trying to help us continue to grow our membership and add to the vitality of our chapters, to bring better leadership opportunities and better projects and activities into our chapters that kind of make it a better feel, a better environment for the social networking that we want to have happen between our members and the leadership growth that they're able to have because we do activities that are meaningful that they participate in delivering at their chapters. So if you go to the next slide, these are some ideas, making sure we're making that communication as personal as we can where that's possible. That works really effectively to make sure people understand that we're a real and legitimate organization and we do worthwhile things in our collegiate environment and our communities. And we help each other, and we build a network of strong engineering contributors. This QR code is a link to a set of videos that have been pulled together by the Chapter Development Committee that was hopefully has some helpful ideas for you to take back and try to improve your connection to new potential members that are eligible for membership. And we're going to continue to try and help bring these ideas to you, and the sharing that you do at district conference, the sharing that we do in our interactive chapter exchange sessions at the national convention are all aimed at trying to help get our best practices shared around the organization. So that is where we are on membership. Go to the next slide. So the next part of our the other sub goal was to understand our membership experience and have a metric for that. And what the committee that was working on this has landed on is, and this was to basically understand how do we track what members think of being a member. We're proposing using a net promoter score methodology. If you're interested, there's a YouTube video behind that QR code that I found helpful to understand this. But basically, it is probably something you're very familiar with. If you ever used a product or a service or whatever, you often get the question, would you recommend this product or service to a friend or colleague? It's a simple question, but it gets right to the heart of what people think about whatever you're asking them about. And it gives us a score that we can use to kind of have an index to where we stand as a at a point in time, and then through focusing on the issues that we have that people indicate to us are the reasons why they aren't having a good experience, we can try and improve that, and over time we might resurvey, we would see improvement. So that's the idea, that's the methodology here. Still some details of implementation that we've got to work on, but that's the direction we're heading. And I wanted to share that with you here. That without getting too far into it, the simple math in in this is you take from this survey, you see these. Anybody who rated you a 0 to a 6 is a detractor. Anybody who's a 7 or an 8 is a passive. Anybody who's a 9 or a 10 is a promoter. And you take the promoters minus the percent promoters minus the percent detractors, and you multiply that by 100, and you get an index number. So, and then you move that index number higher, and then there's some work underneath there that we'll need to focus on in the future. But for right now, that's the index that we've landed on. So I wanted to share that point with you. And I don't know if there's any questions anyone has on strategic goals and our response to those. All right, there is a question I have. Okay, guidance you can already quantify. Yeah, I would. That's a good question for a district director to answer, because they would know those resources that you could call on to basically have methodologies for measuring integrity and character. So I don't know if that helps, Ben, but
in the chapter resources on our webpage, we have several documents that we generated post 2020 that has like potential questions and potential processes. And so we can share, I'm sure we can get that information put back out again. But yes, we have them available.
Yeah, I see you're bringing up a new area of like use of AI and how that reflects on. I mean, that's a topic that I think is worth some study. Every situation is different, so it's hard to comment on on what to do about it. But yeah, I think you should check out the resources that we have and see if that's helpful to you. And if not, just ask. We'll see what we can do. Um, it may be time for some discussion around some new ideas. So, all right, Kurt, we'll move to the next topic, which I think is yours.
Yes, it is. So I'm here on behalf of the Convention Program Planning Committee just to give a quick update on what's going on with that group. So a few things, just what's been going on. The committee initially, as the year ended, looked at the scope and provided recommendations on the program schedule activities. They clarified roles already initially at the start of the year. They've defined some goals for this year's convention based on the feedback that came back from the previous convention's survey in terms of business meeting reform, schedule and timing, trying to improve the schedule overall, trying to make it less of a marathon, ensure accessibility, and looking at student-centered programming. One of the other areas they're looking at is increasing sponsorship and career fair opportunities to at least, they're each reaching out to their business contacts, academic contacts, government contacts. They've asked the executive council to reach out to people they know. In terms of work accomplished so far, they've finished up going through nominations and interest and have gotten those submitted and approved. They've had 2 meetings so far, and the next meeting is actually tomorrow evening. They've identified priorities, goals, areas for improvement, and started assigning tasks to the members. We're exploring options for after-hours entertainment for delegates. They are looking at changes to the schedule. They've assigned members that are helping lead the Engineering Futures program piece of the schedule, as well as program development, reaching out to potential presenters. Headquarters is working with the team to develop sponsorship and recruiting fair materials to share with members and potential recruiters and sponsors. And later in April or early May, 3 members of the headquarters team, including myself, will be visiting Tucson to check out the site and go through some of the logistics.
Kurt,
There
can you
is,
advance the slide?
oh, yeah, sorry about that. There we go. Some of the other big thing we're looking for is contacts for the recruiting fair. So I put Aaron's address up there. You can always email tbp@tbp.org. But we are looking for potential corporate sponsors, recruiters. So if any of our members have, connections that they could reference to us, that would be helpful. I know the committee's got a lot of work in front of it over the next couple of months to work through all the questions and areas for improvement. I will say a lot of what the communications task force has been looking through, things related to convention, have been already passed along, or that the convention program planning committee has already seen some of those results based on the convention survey. So they are working in parallel to that. I will also note that there's going to be a convention improvement task force that has yet to be stood up completely, but we do have a call out for members and we're identifying those for the executive council to appoint. And that committee will be looking more at longer term changes to convention. The program planning committee is looking at things specifically for the 2026 convention that are realistic to improve and work through the actual program for that convention. The improvement task force is going to look at bigger piece things that maybe are going to take some more time to implement. So those are some updates from the convention program planning committee.
Thanks, Kurt. Any thoughts? Jenna's already going to help out. All right. Cool. All right. All right. So the last item here is just wanted to put up a list here of just some of the things that the Executive Council's been up to for the last few months. Just kind of put a list here to kind of summarize some things here. These are the kinds of things that we we tackle on a monthly basis. There's discussions and other things happen outside of this. As Kurt manages things inside the headquarters office, so he does update us on things that are going on there because there's a regular flow of activity that go on through the headquarters office. But this is really focused on things that the executive council reviews, approves for our role. So you can see we've chapter bylaws. We have to approve those. We have to look at the financial aspects of the organization. We've got a lot of funds in our endowment, and Kurt manages, along with Mike Brown, manage the movement of those funds and what needs to be moved in order to meet the operational financial, operating costs that go into running the organization between district conference spending, convention spending, expense reports for travel and also scholarships and being prepared to make payments for scholarships and fellowships. And then we've got a number of committees that we have chartered, and we've set up a schedule whereby we want to hear back from them on a periodic basis. We've kind of prioritized the ones that are the ones that have the most activity and we feel are the most important. We want to hear from them more frequently. Others that we don't need to hear from as frequently, but we do want to hear throughout the year at one of the meetings or another from the committees that we've asked to do work on our behalf. And so we'll be looking to hear that progress from those teams. And then we do things like recognizing volunteers that have served on committees, that have served as association volunteers. We approve the recognition awards for those people. And like I mentioned, Kurt keeps us updated on how the headquarters staff up. As you know, we've been filling roles in the staff. We've been training people. We're bringing a team up to speed to kind of run our operation, as we've had some people leave, some new people come in, and so we're in the process of training people, and people are bringing new ideas into our operations, and we're trying to incorporate those into how the organization runs. So just a snapshot here of some things that we're up to. And that is our last topic I wanted to kind of go through. Now I'll throw it open to your questions that can come from those or any other topic you want to bring up. We'll do our best to engage. Does anybody have anything they want to ask about?
There's a hands up.
Oh, I can't see the hand. Whose hand is up? Julia, do you want to go right ahead, come off mute and give us your question?
Thank you. So it's more of a question slash comment. So I remember at convention, there was this beautiful little graph that Kurt had at our last dinner, showing the correlation between the larger chapters, so to say, with the eligibility list, and how they have lesser election or initiation sizes. And so, being a part of a larger chapter, I think it's between Florida Delta at UCF and I think a chapter either in California or Texas. But we're definitely up there in size. So I don't know if it's something with the EC I can talk about, but we've been having to get pretty creative with how we operate as a chapter in regards to our size. So for example, with our leadership, this past year has been kind of a test trial, we've broken our leadership up into committees and then also chairs of committees. And this upcoming year, to try and bridge the gap between leadership positions and leadership terms, we'll also be introducing a student advisor. So, say someone doesn't want the workload of serving as president or vice president, they can serve as a student advisor. So, they can still be around for questions, even if they're a student, but without that larger workload. So, yeah, so if anyone on the EC is interested, or just kind of discussing ideas for larger chapters to, I don't know, maybe bring to convention to talk to the other larger chapters. Because when I spoke at D5, it's kind of hard to connect because in districts, the chapters vary in size so much.
Right.
We've definitely had issues as a larger chapter, and I think
Mhm.
we found some solutions that could definitely help some other larger chapters.
Well, the first thing I'd say is I really applaud your creativity in kind of solving your, I'll call it management or leadership problems and figuring out new ways to engage people. I mean, that's fantastic. And quite honestly, that is the kind of learning and growth that I hope everybody who takes leadership in a chapter aspires to, is to learn something from the process. And so, Julie, it seems like you've accomplished that, so that's great. To your specific question, yeah, I understand that the smaller group in a district, you don't have the same access to larger chapters that are comparable to you. The national convention gives you the opportunity, frankly, in our interactive chapter exchange sessions, we tend to try and orient larger chapters together. It's not 100% aligned that way, but it is often aligned that way. So you will have more exposure to chapters that are of similar size, and that way your conversations are more relevant. So that is one opportunity for you. But I don't know, does anybody else have a thought they wanted to reflect on that?
Yeah, I'll just mention that that is, Julia, something we're looking at is the large chapters, because obviously, there's the largest potential for membership growth in that area, but we also realize there are some unique challenges with chapters of your size. And I think you're thinking of Texas A&M. They're also one of the larger schools, but I think part of our plan this year was to roll out our strategic goals, but we realize it's necessary. So we're definitely going to be looking at ways to, you may be successful and can be shared with others. And then if others have unique approaches to the challenges of larger chapters, there might be a way to communicate and more readily identify yourself, because you as a large chapter, you may have an idea of who the other large chapters are, but there's certainly nothing on our website that tells you who the biggest chapters are. So that is something that we'll probably, as we move into the summer months, look at, how do we better connect the larger chapters together.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, Texas A&M, I'll miss some of them in Purdue, big chapters, Kurt, you probably can name them off, but yeah, I mean, and maybe reaching out to them might be helpful. Michigan Gamma, of course.
And I think Abby from Alabama Alpha has her hand raised.
Abby, yep, go ahead.
It's on a different issue, if that's okay.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
Any issue.
Before we move forward, I did want to say, Julia, we also implemented a student advisor this year. We're also on the larger end of the chapter size, and he is a PhD student, but it's turned out to be really, really very helpful and beneficial that he's going to be on there for 3 years to help with the officer changeover. And because he's been in our chapter for so long already, he already brings a lot of knowledge that we didn't have. So that is definitely something that we've seen real results in already. The thing I actually did want to talk about, I did look up the resources that y'all mentioned just a couple minutes ago about the character evaluation because our chapter did actually have an issue with that this initiation cycle. And the resources that I could find from the resources page were examples of questionnaires or questions to ask, not necessarily how to deem whether or not they are of upstanding character from their responses. And I think that's a little bit more where we're struggling because there's some issues of, okay, well, if they don't necessarily seem to be of higher integrity or high excellence, how do we know that? How do we do that objectively and not make it a personal, well, we know this person, we don't like this person, we don't want to do that. We want to be objectively evaluating this. But then also, how do we handle that? Especially in the bigger chapters, it's not as big of an issue because we have so many people that interview. It's not as easily known if one person doesn't make it. But if it's the smaller chapters and then only one person isn't accepted because of the character evaluation, how do you handle that as a chapter president or anyone in that officer position?
So I'm going to go back to what I used to tell people when I was a district director to that very question, and that is, it's a chapter vote. The members of the chapter vote on the eligible candidates about whether they meet the criteria. And when you have that vote, if someone doesn't get enough votes, then they don't become a member. And it becomes something that makes it not personal. It becomes the result of the vote was that the person was not approved for membership, not elected to membership. And that's a method by which you can communicate in a way that makes it not anything to do with a decision that you as the communicator made, but it was basically the chapter in aggregate voted and made this decision. So, David, you want to add something to that?
Yeah. When I was district director, we would talk about this, and one of the things we emphasized was, creating a process, kind of using those questions and other resources you have. But this is where your advisory board, I forgot where my right camera was to look at here. But this is where your advisory board, your advisors and your officers combined together come up with this decision criteria that you then use for this voting process. And then you're working from those guidelines, and making some decisions like this is like the harder parts of being part of the leadership, and developing that process that all those members can use, like Tom said, for making this choice as a vote. But if you have some good documentation in terms of like what you're basing the votes on, or what how your guys are getting through your process, that always helps. And I think it's part of what's good about being part of an organization like this is sometimes we're forced to make hard decisions in our professional lives, and these are good practice, good experience towards moving towards that.
And I see in the chat, Sandia called out some resources that you might take a look at in the officer handbook. So hopefully, maybe was that helpful?
Yes, I will review those. I think we were just looking to see if there was guidelines to go off of because we realized this round that we don't have that process or
Mhm.
anything along those lines documented. So we were, as an advisory board, trying to figure out what was best to discuss with our chapter and what was not appropriate to discuss with the chapter because obviously the entire chapter is not in on the interview. It's just the advisory board with the interview with the electee. So we were trying to decide, well, what aspects of the interview do we tell the chapter about? What aspects of the character concern do we tell the chapter about? What do we just say, this is good, this is bad, or do we just have them vote without having any of that information, which obviously doesn't seem like that would be the best choice. So I will review these documents and see if that is helpful.
Yeah.
I'll reach out to our district directors, but thank you.
Okay. Ben,
Yeah, but hopefully my audio is working.
it
Apologies, I'm
is.
losing my voice a little bit. I I guess kind of expanding on that, and that kind of goes back to my original question was the chapter that I advise ended up rejecting 6 individuals and accepting 12 in their latest cycle. So that's a 67% acceptance rate, and the biggest reason there were two of the people who were rejected for reasons of their use of AI. And the reason I bring that up is it'd be nice if there was, I know it's an emerging field, it's a brand new thing, we're not entirely sure what exactly is ethical use of it. If there was some guidance specifically to that issue, and also more generally across um, like what academic integrity looks like, just as a broader perspective. The resources I looked at seem to be more based on the methodology and the logistics as opposed to the actual character evaluation part. Granted, I've only been looking through this for a few minutes, but um, with regards to meeting the strategic goal, um, I suspect that two of the people that were rejected, maybe if we had more resources, maybe they were acting in good integrity, and maybe that was it was a challenge that kept that chapter up. I think it was a 6 hour election process for them to go through that. That's how challenging that issue was. So
Mm,
I think in order to better achieve the goals of the strategic initiative, I think there in the future may be helpful to have more resources specific to that character evaluation. I will say for the chapter I advise, they go through um, they have a group interview, like one large group interview, and then they leave, and then the chapter membership who attended the group interview votes in secret ballot after deliberation. And normally that's a 2 to 3 hour process, but the last election was, I think we got home around 1 in the morning. So um,
mm.
it's so that's what I was trying to convey earlier, and I think Abby, I think it was, did a lot better job of conveying my concerns tonight. So I don't know I guess that's kind of a question and a statement grouped into one mess. So hopefully you got something out of that.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like you'd like some guidance, and that guidance might take some deliberation amongst a larger group of members. I almost see there being either it could be something we charge a convention committee with, kind of looking into this. I mean, we'll talk about it. Kurt, you can have that added to our agenda, and we'll just figure out how to disposition the idea. See if we can direct it somewhere to kind of give some guidance. So we had a couple questions about that. Julia, you had your hand up, I think, next.
Hi. Yeah, I was just gonna say, I thought it would be a good idea to have that charged to one of the committees for convention, just because it still is an up and coming field and AI is not going away. It's gonna be here for a minute.
Right.
So yeah.
And it's going to be a dynamic problem. It's going to be something
Mhm.
that's changes all the time. So
Yes.
yeah. But yes, David, you're next. Hands up.
Yeah, I guess I just would like to give like the historical context that, a lot of times with many of these type of activities, our organization has, kind of relied on local rule type approaches. Like we have our constitution and bylaws and keep our, and have standards, but we've also tried to keep the ability of the chapters that have their bylaws and their processes. And so that's how we are where we're at. Not to say that I think it's a good idea that Tom mentioned, Julia mentioned, are using our convention to talk about this in deeper. But I think that generally historically we have looked to the guy, like the inspiration of our members and students to help us find these paths and the right answer. So
Yeah, I
instead of like
mean,
a top down.
yeah. No, a good point. I mean, the decision of membership is a chapter decision. It's not an organization wide. There's no one way to do it. That's never been the way, as you point out. Um, Now, how could we help, um, provide um, frameworks for thought about these topics. That might be how we could help. But I mean, in the absence of that, it's done at the chapter level that you just have to figure it out. It's like any engineering problem. You figure it out with resources that you have. So I guess that's my thought on it. I thought I saw somebody else had their hand up and now I don't see it. Okay. It's good discussion. Kurt, what do you think? We,
Oh,
Sam has
Sam
his
raised his
hand up
hand.
now.
oh, Sam, okay.
Just a quick comment, like this one, like actually, I've had like this discussion with multiple people at different times, and there is no quick like fix for AI. Again, like I agree with the committee, like basically suggestion. But one thing, and this was actually like me and David talked about it during the last convention. It's like the pure use of AI by itself is not a problem, but like how you use it. And again, this one might date me, but for those of you guys that still remember the Star Trek Next Generation, how they used their computer to streamline their work, not to do the work for them, but to like basically use it as a tool. So write your paper, ask AI to maybe proofread it versus asking AI to write the whole thing for you. It would be like a discussion I had with another person was, well, if you are typing a paper or typing something on Microsoft Word, do you disable the spell checker because it's basically considered to be, well, doing part of the job for you of not checking your own spelling? Or like basically if you're using a calculator. So it's the question is, and this is again, like it is subjective again, it requires further discussion, but at least for the immediate thing, what kind of like answered some of the students that I had discussions about AI with was that if they like people that are using AI are using it to help them with like basically their work, like basically as an assistant, as a tool, or are they using it to do the work for them completely?
Yeah.
But again, yeah, this is a discussion for I guess a committee or like multiple people.
Yeah, no, I think, and the other thing that occurred to me as you're saying this is that, this is an area that probably a lot of universities have to face because there's it's directly there in the academic process that they have to deal with this. And so there's probably local thought going into this, which again gets back to the local decision about how that question, how this general question gets answered. It's sometimes answered in the context of an institution, and they may provide the guidance that gives you the answer you need. So, Ben, you'd had a question,
Yeah, I
a
just wanted
comment?
to I just wanted to I guess clarify my original statement too, was I was kind of using AI as an example of the issue where I think any guidelines that come out of that, I mean something on AI specifically would be nice, but I guess some general guidelines that are more applicable. Something that I see that the Code of Ethics was quoted, even something maybe expanding on the Code of Ethics a little more than what's already in there would be nice. But it sounds like that'll be discussed at a potential convention committee. So I think it'll be covered. I just want to clarify, it's not just the specific example of AI, it's the general aspect of that'll be
Okay,
applicable even beyond AI. Thank you.
good.
I appreciate your
Okay.
time on
No, I appreciate you raising the topic and explaining how you're thinking about it broadly. So that's great. Well, I appreciate everybody's engagement in this. This has been um, a rich discussion. I think it's good. Does anybody have anything else? All right, I think we'll end there. If it seems like we're talked out, and certainly if there are other questions that you have, there's an email that gets to all the executive counselors, tvp.ec@tvp.org, and obviously Kurt and the headquarters staff is there to serve chapters, both alumni and collegiate. And I certainly appreciate the leadership that our collegiate chapter presidents and officers are providing, and also to our alumni chapters who are creating opportunities to network and engage with our collegiate chapters to give them a view down the road from where they are to kind of help with that transition. I mean, that's an important part of membership, is that you have a connection to people that are down the road ahead of you in their careers and in their lives. And I think we can all benefit from sharing back and forth. You know, I'll call myself an old dog. I need to be taught the new tricks of how to apply AI to my life. So I think we can all learn from each other. So, and if anybody else doesn't have anything to say, and I think we're all set for tonight. I appreciate everybody. We'll be seeing a number of you down the road at district conferences and at meetings coming up in the future. So thanks very much, everybody, and have a great night.